Hello. Well, I was looking around the internet today and I saw a video that talked about the, there was a couple of videos. One of them was about the air war that occurred during Desert Storm. And then the other one was the ground war that occurred during Desert Storm. And I realized that they were, they said the ground war began on February 24th, 1991. And I looked at the little calendar on my computer and it says it's February 24th, 2025. I was thinking, well, let's see, what was I doing on February 24th? And then I realized it hadn't dawned on me that it's been 34 years since Desert Storm. I get a kick all the time. I hear all these young kids say, "Yeah, we learned about that in history." Well, to me, it's not history; it's yesterday. Let's see. I was a 24-year-old aviation ordnanceman with with a squadron that specialized in electronic jamming. Means they send a plane up and any radar that's out there, they'll lock on it, and all of a sudden they'll be looking at a snowstorm on their screen. And we had, I believe it was 11 aircraft. And I still remember the opening day. We had 15 days of the air war. So by February 24th, we'd had we'd been working nonstop for 15 days. And you caught some sleep when you had a slow period, like when the planes were out on missions. But that first day, I looked at the flight manifest, and let's see, the 24th, 15 days, it'd be like, oh, I hate math. February 9th? Yeah, February 9th. And I remember looking at the flight plan for that day, and usually you had two little things on there, you know, 7 aircraft, and then turn around, and then 5 aircraft, and, short little things like that. And there's only like two or three. That day, we had, there were probably about 17 sorties for one day. And the first one was, it said 7. And then that meant 7 aircraft were going out. And then it said 7, turn, 6, turn. And turn, it means you bring it in, fuel it up, check it out, reload it if you had to, and then send it back out. So it was 7, turn 4, turn 4, turn 4, turn 4, turn 4 for the rest of the day. As soon as 4 aircraft came back, 4 more took off. and they were just, and it went all the way through the night. You look at the next page on the flight plan, and it was more of the same all the way down the page, and you lived on the flight line. We had tents and everything, but when that air war started, you didn't even go back there. You might get, a break where, but it wasn't even worth it walking all the way back to the tent when you knew you'd just have to, you'd lay down for 5 minutes, get up, and have to go back to the flight line. So we just, wherever we happened to find an open spot, we'd crash out until planes came back. But I still remember during those 15 days, we actually had some of our, well, not our aircraft. After a while, they started, you know, they took all the ordnance men and put them into one big group, so they just run out there and load up planes and get them out. And I remember some of the planes. We had one aircraft that came back, and it had been hit by a Frogger missile, a surface-to-air missile, and it had flown all the way back. And when it came in, they looked at the wing, and I can remember they had a step ladder that they put underneath the wing, and I climbed up the step ladder, and I stood through the wing. The hole was so big that I could fit both my shoulders in it and stand without touching either side of the hole. And he had flown back like that. Uh, some of those planes seemed like they were indestructible. We also had one that caught a high tension wire, took off a third of its wing, and it still flew back. Well, we had, I believe, some of the navies, one or two of the Navy's A6s got shot down. I remember when the the Brits in there, I believe it was a tornado, they got shot down and captured, and they had the snot beat out of them. They were just, the Iraqis were quick to throw them on the news and show those guys because they beat the hell out of them. I see one of them occasionally on, you know different documentaries, especially about Desert Storm. But he still has lasting effects from the treatment he received. But no, I didn't realize it had been that long ago, and kind of makes me feel old. There's days when I feel old and don't really want to do anything, but then there's other days that I feel like I'm, ready for another go round. I know now they'd laugh at me if I tried to go to a recruiter now. There's days that I something in the news will make me so mad I'll want to fight, and I will, just not now. I guess that's the old jarhead in me, just, you know, itching for a fight. Now I sit back and I reminisce. I've written a couple stories about my time in the Marine Corps. I wrote one about living in Japan. I wrote another about uh about Desert Storm. Uh, but I mostly stick to historical fiction now as far as my writing goes. It's fun. It's fun to think about it sometimes, especially when I'm with a bunch of ex vets, or well, a bunch of veterans. I like to visit my my son's father-in-law because he was a Marine at the same time. You know, a lot of the same places. Got to know him when we were in Japan. He also married a Japanese woman, had 4 daughters. I married a Japanese woman, had 4 sons, and my oldest married his youngest. And now I have a granddaughter, soon to be 2 granddaughters. But it's fun to talk to the vets and talk about things we went through. I remember, well, just before the whole war ended, we got hit by a sandstorm, and now I joke and I say I'm still digging sand out of places I never knew I had. But I mean, you didn't see 5 feet in front of you. It was just blowing sand. You watched it come in like a wall. And we were on an island. We were in Bahrain. That's another thing. I watch the news, and they're talking about CNN and how they're going away. Well, when we were in Desert Storm, CNN was like 2 years old, and I got a distaste for them from Desert Storm on because I remember Wolf Blitzer standing in our on our base, and he said while he was standing there, "I am at a secret airbase in the southern end of Bahrain." Well, anybody that can read a map knows that Bahrain comes to a point at the southern end. So, doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out where that secret base is. Well, that night we spent more time sitting in bunkers and we fighting holes than we did anywhere else because they were focusing scuds at the southern end of Bahrain that comes to a point that told me Wolf Blitzer was an idiot, and CNN didn't have anyone's well-being in mind other than their own, because after he made the report, Wolf Blitzer got on a plane and flew out of the southern end of Bahrain. I think partly because he knew that they're going to focus everything they got on that southern end of Bahrain. I remember the scud that hit in Dara. We were hit by at least at least 3 or 4 scuds. I mean, actually hit. One scattered itself along the coastline. It's an island, so you know you just look up a little bit and you see the coast. But it was also just flat, rocky, barren, nothing. But I remember there was a scud that hit in Dahran, which was just across the Strait of Bahrain from from our island. And I can remember watching the scud hit the airbase. There was just a big glow, and standing there knowing that there was nothing I could do about it. Come to find out, we had a TV, and TV was just a little bit behind what was actually on the ground. And they said that a scud had hit a barracks in Dahran, and something over 200 Pennsylvania reservists were killed or injured. And we're standing just across the strait from it. Couldn't do a blessed thing for them. And after they'd been raining scuds on us, you naturally ask, well, why did they get hit and we didn't? We had the planes. They were reservists. Kind of made me feel bad. I still feel bad about it. Survivor's guilt, they call it. It goes along with PTSD. I'm not overwhelmed by PTSD, but well, my fiance says when I sleep, I thrash around a lot. Who knows? I can't remember anything. I dream anyway. But I think I have more good memories of my service than I do bad memories, which seems to be a good thing, seeing as how so many men are incapacitated by their PTSD. You saw it all the way. Well, you've seen it in every war, but you look at the guys that came out of Afghanistan and the guys that came out of the later Persian Gulf Wars and guys that came out of Vietnam. I feel I'm pretty functional for having been through some of the same stuff. I guess I've always been someone that I learned very early that if you don't talk about it, it'll just rot you from the inside. Talking about it is part of healing. But I can also see, when I talk about my experiences in the military, people who have never been in the military, their eyes kind of glaze over and, yeah, okay, haven't got a clue what you're talking about, but I talk about it and I write about it, and this is therapy. Writing about it is therapy. Talking to other veterans, that's therapy. That's where that bachelor's degree in psychology comes in. I know that the best thing you can do is to talk about what happened. what it is that's bothering you, because that's part of the healing. When you hear yourself say something, your mind will engage it differently and may give you a clue as to part of the problem, so that then you're better able to fix it. And if you talk to the right person, just somebody that understands, talking to talking to my son's father-in-law. As far as I'm concerned, he's my brother. We're brothers in arms. And we'll sit there and we'll jabber about whatever. And sometimes we'll talk about our times in the Marines. I believe he was in Desert Storm also. And it helps. It We have somebody that's done the same things, chewed the same ground, and it gives us justification for our feelings. And that's what you need sometimes. I often think about PTSD and what causes it. The only way I can describe it is when we're raised, we're given a concept of what what is right, what is wrong, what how life is supposed to be. When you go to war, you got to take that concept, and if you're smart, you'll just put it in a box and place it somewhere, because nothing about war is makes sense. It's not it's not normal for one man to kill another. We're social creatures. But you have to take that sensibility and put it in a box, put it away safe, go do your war where nothing makes sense, and come back and retake that sensibility. Take it out of its box. Some guys, they lost their box. They can't find their sensibility anymore. They put it away in a place where they can't find it. And then they have problems. Then they have to remake, rebuild, renew anything that makes sense to them. And 9 times out of 10, it ain't perfect. It ain't like it used to be. And those are the ones you see that are homeless in the street. Those are the ones you see in the VA hospitals. Those are the ones you see that are living on Social Security now because they can't work. They can't function in a regular society because they don't have a sensibility. They, you know, their anger will be touched off just because somebody looks at them wrong. Well, you had to be like that in war. But now they're not in war, but they lost their box. That's the closest I can describe it. If anybody watches this and has been through the same thing, I hope it helps you. It's helped me. I tend to be kind of a jokester, so I'll joke about it. I talk about it, people. I talk on here about it. I write about it. So I got a lot of places to export my thoughts. Not everybody has that. Be nice if everyone could. Of course, we probably wouldn't have enough shelves to carry all the books. And that's one way I appreciate the technology we have today, where I can make a video here and I can put it on YouTube, and some vet will see it and say, "Hey, I understand what you're talking about. It really helped me to understand my issues." I'd love to hear something like that if I help somebody, or if I got somebody to look at things a different way. I would appreciate more contact from anybody that sees this, whether you've been to war or not. If you have something that you think I should talk about, I'm trying to figure out how to do like a live interactive, but I'm still trying to figure that out. I'm a Luddite when it comes to computers, but share with me if you like what you hear. Give me a thumbs up. That helps me on the algorithm, so they tell me. Get more people saying, "Hey, I like what you were talking about." Maybe I didn't agree with you, but I still liked it. Gave me another point of view. Um, if I get a bunch of questions, I'll try and answer them. You know, I'll write them down and then answer them the best I can. I'd love to do that too. If you want to hear more of this, subscribe. I'm gonna do this as long as I'm able to. If you got any ideas of what else I could do, how I could make these longer, how I could talk with somebody instead of to somebody, I'd enjoy that kind of help also. But if you like it, give me a thumbs up, subscribe. If you want to hear more of it, every 5-6 days I take like a day or 2 day break. But I try and do one of these a day. It helps me. I hope it helps you. But right now I'm restricted to 30 minutes. And I got about a minute and a half left now. But give me a comment, give me a suggestion. Just tell me, hey, I like what you say, or hey, that ain't quite right. I'm open to all that. I'm open to criticism. I'm open to, as long as it's not just 2 words, "you suck," and then don't tell me why, then that's irrelevant. If you ain't going to tell me why it sucks, I won't know. But, if you got some suggestions on how to expand on this, I'd be open to that too. But for right now, it is what it is. I hope you enjoy it. I look forward to tomorrow's. We'll see what I can pull out of the internet. But until then, I'll just leave you with a couple of Latin words.